Alright, Matt. 3. Come on, Matt. You got it, man. Come on. Go.
What is up, guys? Coach Matt here, and we are indoors today because it's raining outside here in Pennsylvania, but just wanted to share some events with you, some footage with you from my very first strongman competition. So I just did the Beast of Bloomsburg strongman competition last Saturday, and I want to share with you guys how that went and show you the footage from the events themselves. Just for some background here, guys, I was competing in the Novice Class, and for those of you that aren't kind of familiar with how strongman works, Novice Class is the easiest class you can kind of go in, so the weights are usually lighter, there's not such extremes as you have with the open class, and there's also no weight class usually for Novice Classes. So usually Novice Class is an open weight class, whoever shows up is whoever you're competing against. So if someone shows up 100 pounds heavier than you, yeah, you could be competing against someone 100 pounds heavier for you. But the Novice Class is really built to kind of get people into strongman rather than the whole competition aspect of things. So it's really not such a huge concern there. The meet itself that I was competing in was just a local competition. So it was Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, the Beast of Bloomsburg competition at CrossFit Bloomsburg. Got it? So it was just a nice local competition, very low stress, wasn't like, you know, hundreds of people were showing up to this or anything. I think there ended up being about 30 or so competitors overall. So it was really a nice first time experience competing in both the Novice Class and competing in a smaller kind of competition. The nerves are kind of kept to a minimum. The other big time advantage I had going on here was we rolled up with a full squad from the Lion's Den. So I guesstimate that there was about 10 or so of our athletes there, both men and women. So it was awesome to kind of get to compete alongside the people I train with in the gym all the time. And again, that really helps with nerves that you have someone there by your side going through the same kind of things that you're going through. So that really helps with the competition process. The meet ran super smooth, so big shout out to the CrossFit Bloomsburg folks that ran the meet. Didn't have to wait too much time in between events or anything like that. Everything was properly set up and everything just ran super smooth. So it was really a perfect day for my very first strongman competition. All right, now onto the good stuff. So we had 5 events for this meet, and the first one was going to be a max event. So it was the axle clean and press, or the continental clean and press is what most people would end up doing with this press. So the way this event was run was like any other strongman event. It was run under Wessel's rule, which is rather common in these kind of max events. So we'd have 3 total attempts. We had to make 20-pound jumps, and the first opener weight was at 115, I believe. But you could hop in anywhere you want. So if you could press 300 pounds, you could hop in at 300 pounds. And you can make big jumps if you wanted to. So you didn't have to jump by 20 pounds. If you want to jump 40, 60 pounds, whatever you wanted to do was fine there. The big caveat here is you do have to make your first attempt. So if you miss your first attempt under this rule, you zero for the event and you're out. So it is a little bit of pressure there. You do got to make sure your first attempt is pretty easy for you and that you're going to smoke it. Otherwise you will zero for the event. This is probably the event I had the most nerves with, and that was just because in training I was never very consistent with this. So all the other events for me, as I trained them, I got more proficient at them, got better at the technique for them. The continental clean and press just never really clicked for me. So it was always a day-to-day basis thing where some days I'd be really on it, and then other days I'd be really off. So I didn't really know what was going to happen when I showed up this day, but it ended up really going really well and really in my favor. So it was really cool. So I didn't end up counting on was the fact that my adrenaline was going to be so high on this first event, and that really made the continental clean and press go super well for me. So I ended up going with 175 for my first attempt. And again, it's kind of like powerlifting here, where your first attempt should be something you could smoke even on your worst day. So even if you were sick or anything like that, something was going on in your life, you could still smoke this weight. So 175 flew up. I made 20-pound jumps after that. So I went 175, 195, and then 215. Unfortunately, I don't have the footage for the 175 and the 195 because my cameraman, aka my dad, had not gotten to the event deck, but Joey did actually capture my 215, so I'll show you guys that right now. Excuse the quick change to black and white there. Again, that is Joey's video, so thanks so much for Joey for capturing that. I was really happy with that event. So that was actually a 10-pound PR for me right there, and with the adrenaline rush, I actually felt like I had the next jump up from there. So Kinda wish I had a fourth attempt there to shoot for 235, but super happy to end up with a 10-pound PR at 215 pounds for the axle clean and press. And right off the bat, I'll be sorry to you stat people who would like where placings are. I don't have the placings as of yet, so I don't really know where I was scoring in these events. I think with the axle clean and press, I ended up tying for first place on that one. But again, I have no clue, so sorry for you stat people that like that kind of information. Alright, on to the next event. So the second event of the day was actually our mystery event. So cool thing with this competition is we had a mystery event that we weren't told up until the day of the competition. Now, I was kind of hoping it was going to end up being a car deadlift because I have not gotten to do that yet. And it was a car, but it was not a deadlift. So what ended up happening was we had a 175-foot car push. So for those that aren't familiar with the car push event, it's not as scary as it seems. It's basically just a giant badass looking prowler. So the same things that will apply to a prowler apply to a car. The biggest part of it is just getting the momentum going, and after that keeping it going. If the car stops somewhere along the way, you're gonna have a really hard time starting it again. So big things with this kind of event is getting that initial inertia going and then keeping it moving. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to tell by the video or not, but it actually was a slight downhill slope to start into a little bit of a divot, and then the very last bit is an uphill climb there. Nothing too crazy, but it was there. And you'll actually notice me slow down right as the uphill part comes, so you'll kind of see that happen. But it did trap a few people, and again, once that car stops, getting it moving again is just super difficult. But I think everyone did actually end up finishing that event. It was really cool to kind of see people struggle against the car and just refuse to quit. So I have no idea where I actually placed with the car push. I know I didn't get first for this one. When I look back on video, I was going kind of slow. In my head, I was moving, but on video, it's just like, ooh, you could have put some more effort into that, buddy. But I think I did okay on this one. Probably could have gone a bit quicker with it. Alright guys, third event ended up being the Yolk Walk. So we had a 500-pound Yolk Walk, which in strongman terms is pretty reasonable. So it was definitely a good first time yoke weight for me. I didn't have to worry about dying under the yoke or anything like that. The only thing that kind of happened was we did do the car push before this, so our quads were kind of shot, and then we were going right into the Yolk Walk about 10-15 minutes afterwards. So that was a little bit exciting, but we all got through it and it ended up being fine. So with the Yolk Walk, the event was set up that it was to be 100 feet Yolk Walk with 500 pounds on your back, but as we did the event, it definitely looked like it was more than 100 feet since they had 50 feet marked out for our farmer's carries in a later event, and we were basically doing like 4 times what that was marked out for. So definitely think it was more than 100 feet for this, but I was completely fine with this. And it was following the same rules as the car. So we didn't have just 60 seconds, we had unlimited time cap, and the fastest time of this one won, and if you wanted to tap out, you'd get your distance measured for how far you got it. Yolk Walk ended up going okay, I'd say. Their yoke was definitely different from the one that we use at the lion's den. So I'm kind of used to going out wide with my grip instead of doing that close squat grip that you'll see me doing in the video. But it really didn't throw me off too much there. The only other thing I wish is that I would have gone to a high bar style rather than my low bar style. So with the yoke, I usually set up the yoke in a kind of low bar style, mid bar style on my back. But I do wish I kind of went with a high bar style from the start with this. So I get it down fine, and as I'm coming back, I end up dropping it. But as I get under the drop, I put it into more of a high bar position. And like my last 50 feet, I just had a burst of energy. So it probably looked weird from an audience perspective, but it was just because that high bar position felt way more comfortable with this yoke. So that last 50 feet, I just kind of had a burst of speed there, which is pretty cool. But, you know, lessons learned for new yokes and stuff like that. I'm kind of used to the one at the lion's den, and this has got me used to yokes that are different. So lessons learned, and it didn't end up going too terribly, so nothing to complain about there. Again, no idea where I ended up with this one. The timed events are kind of hard to tell unless you have the actual score sheet, so I got nothing there, sorry guys. Alright guys, on to the fourth event here. So the fourth event was the Circus Dumbbell. So this one we actually did have a 60-second time cap for. So as many reps as you get with the Circus Dumbbell in 60 seconds. And ours was an 85-pound dumbbell. So in training, this was probably my favorite and most confident event. I really had no problems once I kind of figured out what my preference was for technique on this. And this one was probably the event I was least worried about, and I was shooting for double digits here, so I'll show you guys the film for the Circus Dumbbell. So interesting thing with the Circus Dumbbell event, theirs was a 65-pound Circus Dumbbell base that they added 20 pounds to, and ours at the Lion's Den is an 85-pound base that we add weight to. And it actually did end up throwing us for a little bit of a loop, which is kind of funny. You wouldn't think 20 pounds would make that much of a difference. But the kind of center of gravity for this dumbbell was definitely different, so it took a little bit of an adjustment period. You can see on the third rep I kind of mess up a little bit, but after that third rep I kind of got the balance down for it and was good to go there. This one I do know I ended up getting first place in. I got 10 reps on that, and I think second place was 8 reps, so that was cool. Again, that was easily my favorite event. I don't think my shoulder thinks it's its favorite event, but that's definitely one of my 4 favorite strongman events for sure. Alright, and that brings us into the last event. So the last event was a farmer's carry medley into a tire flip. And before this competition even happened, we all knew this was kind of going to be a sprint. So it's a 170-pound farmer's carry in each hand for 50 feet. Into a 350-pound tire. Now if you've never done farmer's carry, you've never done a tire before, those might sound like heavy weights, but you have to keep in mind that with a tire, you're not actually lifting all of that weight, and with the farmer's carries, they're usually high up off the ground, so you're not like deadlifting that weight up off the ground or anything like that. And we were also allowed to use straps for the farmer's carries. I actually didn't end up doing that because I didn't want to have to deal with taking them off to switch into the tire flip, but we also had that going for us. So this was really just down to go as fast as you possibly can and get to those tire flips and get as many flips as possible. So as you can see, I did end up squeezing in those 14 reps, and that got me first place for this event. I do have one regret with this event, and that is do not use the form I was using on this tire. So I think I did the first 2 or 3 with the knee drive through, which is normal for any tire that you use to kind of pick up into your knee drive to flip it over. But this one was so light that I could do it with basically just my arms. And as I got to my last few, I was basically just bicep curling a 350-pound tire because in the moment it felt light, but the whole rest of this week for training, my biceps and forearms have not been happy with me. And I'm kind of thinking it was a combination of the continental clean and press and that poor form on the tire flip. So do flip tires correctly. I guess there is a time and place, such as a competition. I was just trying to get as many flips as possible and knew that knee drive was kind of slowing me down, but I did kind of pay for it in the end. So keep that in mind if you are going to use all of your energy and go as fast as you possibly can in a competition. There can be some repercussions from poor form for the sake of speed. So yeah, after all the events were wrapped up, I honestly had 0 out of 0 ideas where I ended up in the standings. Strongman scoring is still something I don't quite get, so I'm interested to see the scorecard for this event when it comes out. But I actually ended up getting first place in Novice Class, which is super cool. Yeah, it was a great experience overall. All the events were definitely within my capacity, so I didn't have to stress out about, preparing or zeroing any of the events, and I was surrounded by a bunch of friends doing something that we love. So the competition went really great. Couldn't have asked for a better first time experience in strongman. So advice to anyone that is looking to try their very first strongman competition is just kind of follow what I did with this competition. Choose something that's pretty small, pretty low stress for you. If you need to go into the novice class, completely fine. You do not need to go into the open class on your very first attempt, so don't feel bad that you're in the novice class. Completely fine, and it's just to get your feet wet in strongman. And then the other thing I would say is if you have a training partner or friends that like this kind of stuff, get them to try to join it with you and compete with you. It's nice to have someone next to you that is going through the same things you are and that kind of knows where you're coming from in terms of the emotions that you're feeling. So definitely would recommend trying to get into this with friends. It was a great experience having our gym there to kind of support each other and get us all through what was a lot of our first events and I think a bunch of people's second events in terms of strongman competitions. So definitely a lot of fun having the gym there with us. Alright guys, and that's about all I've got for you for this video. My advice would be to any of you thinking about trying your first strongman competition to just go out there and get it done. Strongman competitions by far seem to be the most positive vibe place you can be. You'll have people that you've never met in your life cheering for you hardcore on the events, especially if it ends up being an event you're struggling on or something like that. So just get out there and do it. I guarantee you, you will not regret it and you'll be better for it and your training will be better for it. So 100% recommend trying out your very first strongman competition. That's all I got for you guys. Thanks so much for checking out the video and I will see you guys next time. More videos coming to you guys soon. See y'all next time. Thanks guys.